Okay, this is a presentation of COVID data for all 50 states. Today I'm going to present Northeast states of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont for data collected through October 17th, 2020. Okay, if we start with Connecticut, you can see population of about 3.5 to 4 million people. They have not had a record case or death date in almost 6 months, so that's good. But when we look at specific data related cases and deaths tests, the number of cases have gone down significantly over the last 30 days from 3,300 90 days ago, 4,100 31 to 60 days ago, and 7,444 the last 30 days. Deaths dropped and then went back up. As far as testing goes, their testing has gone up dramatically. I mean, their testing looks like about 18,000 people a day, which is quite significant for a state of that population. Their positive test rate has gone up, though it's still at a very good level. Anything that low is good. Their death rate has come down to under 1%, which is very good. The 14-day trailing average positive test rate, they've basically been between 0.75% and 1.5%. They just recently, last 2 days, have ticked up over 1.5%, so that might bear watching. As far as their daily cases reported, that's probably why it bears watching. If you look at this, they were under R1 level, which looks like it's about 350, 375 cases a day. For most every day from July 20th to August 30th, except for maybe a handful of days. But they've recently ticked up to new levels on 3 days in the past 10 days. So I'm seeing this trend all across many states, if not all states, that the last week or 10 days has been an uptick in activity. And we've been warned that this might happen when the colder weather happens in the fall, winter. Let's look at Maine. Okay, Maine's population about 1.3, 1.4 million. They haven't had any record case or death dates in quite some time. The number of cases have gone up once again over the last 90 days steadily. Their deaths, I mean, 8, 10, 11, that's still very low. Number of tests, looks like there were about 5,000 cases, under 5,000 tests a day. They're up over 6,000 tests a day. I mean, that's pretty good for a state that size. Positive test rate has gone steadily down or leveled off. Death rate is down from where it's been as well. So let's look at the graphs. 14-day trailing average positive test rate, they're up around 2%. They dropped down to about 0.5%, and that's pretty much where they've been consistently for the last 2 months. So that's very good. If you look at their cases are way below the R1 level for that state. They need to be below about 135 cases, it looks like, roughly. And they've been around averaging about 30 cases a day. So far, out of what I presented, for this week, I'd say Maine is probably doing the best. But we'll see what other states we run into. Massachusetts is the next state, about 7 million people. Now, they recently had a record death date on September 25th of 287. Their case level is higher than it's been over the last 90 days. So that's disturbing. Their death rate is much higher. Their number of deaths is disturbingly higher than it's been as well. But they are testing through the roof. They've doubled their testing from the previous month. So maybe that's something to do with it, or maybe people are getting tested because they feel like they have the virus. Once again, we don't know. Positive test rate is fairly low, but their death rate is alarmingly high. Let's take a look at their positive test rate. Okay, positive test rate is between 2 to 3%, dropped all the way down. This right here, this between 915 925, they didn't report any tests. So that's why this is down here. So this whole area from here to about here basically can disregard, because this data is all warped for this 14-day period from about the 16th to from 16th to October 1st. So really, this is probably where the line is, right about here, and then it jumps up. And why does it jump up on the 9th? Let's see what they have for tests on the 9th. No. Let's see, cases. No. Not sure why that jumps up. I think that jumps up because we're past the 14 days. We're past the 14 days where they didn't report any testing. That's why it jumped up from the 25th, and then all of a sudden on the 8th it jumped up. But where they are right now is the highest positive test rate that they've been in the past 3 to 4 months. So that's a little bit alarming. If we look at their daily cases, they were under R1 for quite some time. And just recently, over the last 2 to 3 weeks, they've been straddling that line. So that's another state that needs to be careful. I know I'm saying this repeatedly on a number of states, but it just seems like a lot of states are going up recently. New Hampshire. Okay, New Hampshire, they had a record case date on October 2nd, 217. I know that doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot for them. If you look at their case levels, they've always been around 50. Under 50 for the most part, and then they shot up on October 2nd. And since that point, the valleys are starting to get higher. So this is another state that has had recent trends, that are not good. You can see here, it just jumped up the last 2 weeks. Positive test rate, 14-day moving average. So New Hampshire needs to be careful going forward. Next state to look at is Rhode Island. Rhode Island, a little over 1 million people. They had a record case date on October 13th, 4 or 5 days ago, 666. If we look at their cases, that's significantly higher than their previous highs, around 300, a little over 300. I know they had some probably higher totals back when this whole virus started, but over the past few months, October 13th was quite a jump for them. If you look at their number of cases, their cases were pretty steady, around 2,800, 2,900 for 60 days, and now they've jumped up, probably in large part because of that one day, to some degree, to that day. They're up to 4,200 over the last 30 days. Their deaths have gone up. Their testing is going up, which is a good thing. And their positive test rate is kind of bouncing around. 30-day cumulative death, positive test rates bouncing around. Same thing with their death rate, but just need to be careful with this trend right here, where the valleys. I always look at the valleys and see if their values are going down or up. Here, values were going down, and the values are starting to go up. So Rhode Island needs to be careful. I'm saying this a lot for a lot of states. I know it sounds repetitive, but we're all in this together. Vermont. Okay, Vermont has not had any record case or death dates in over 6 months, or about 6 months. The number of new cases is pretty flat. A little uptick, but nothing to be concerned about the last 30 days. Their testing has gone down. Their positive test rate is, I think Vermont is the lowest in the country consistently. Look at their death rates. If you look at their daily deaths over the last 90 days, they had one death on August 6th, one death on July 30th. That's it for about the last 90 days. Pretty amazing. We look there, 14-day trailing average positive test rate. They've been between about 0.3% and looks like 1.2, 1.3%. But yet again, the highest positive test rate has been the last week. I'm seeing this over and over and over again. But I would say that Vermont's probably doing the best in any state in the country at this point, and pretty much throughout the whole history of the virus in this country. That concludes my summary of COVID data through October 17th, 2020 for the Northeastern states. Thank you.